So I took the bell housing cover off, and as I was afraid of, it's soaked in transmission oil. I'm going to start it up and look inside and see if it's indeed coming from behind the torque converter. I don't know where else it would be coming from, but it's kind of a, not really a worst case scenario, but pretty close. So I think this is going to have to come back out. Well, we got the engine and torque converter back out of the machine, and you can see it made quite a mess in there, but it's alright, we can clean it up with some brake cleaner. So this is the torque converter, and I noticed when I was carrying it with the forklift after taking it off the engine, it was dribbling, and when I looked inside, there's splines and bearings and things in there. The pilot that's supposed to be cast into this drive flange of the torque converter broke off, and it's stuck in the flywheel. So, got some parts to order. This is the flywheel we took out. I cleaned it up a little bit, and this is the center that was part of the torque converter. This was a pilot that went into the center, and it was sitting like that, so I didn't really recognize it as being out of place. I thought the torque converter just aligned on that, but I was wrong. This actually is part of the torque converter drive housing, and it's broken right here. This is the cast, this tapered part went into the torque converter, and it's dumping out of the hole that it created. It just kind of looked a little more machined because it sat there wearing on itself. Unfortunately, apparently after the flex plate broke, they must have run this thing quite a bit trying to get it to move, and it chewed up, well, the pilot before it broke. It also messed up the inside of the flywheel, and I thought, well, maybe I can machine that out a little bit and make a bushing for it. But then I noticed when I cleaned it up right there, if you can see it, there's two cracks in this flywheel, and I'm really leery to reuse that with those cracks in there. Those cracks continued to grow. This flywheel could blow apart under load, and it just wouldn't be good. I'm not sure what to do yet, but that's what we found. Well, I've got the torque converter all tore apart now. I've already had it apart, and I'm actually putting it back together right now. I replaced the input shaft seal underneath here, underneath that gear, and a couple O-rings and whatnot. The torque converter parts down there. You can see the little nub on the new section, so that's good. This is the inside of the old section. Of course, the missing nub that broke off that caused the leak. There's also a big ball bearing that's pressed into here, and on the new one it was kind of stuck, so I was actually able to remove the old one safely and reinstall it. And this is the O-ring. It's pretty squared off and flattened at this point. Of course, I got a new one on the one that's assembled, but you can see the center busted out of that pilot, and that's where all my leak was coming from. Got this seal kit through eBay. A guy on there sells the whole kit. This is the gasket that meets the two big sections together. These are the pump O-rings, the output shaft seal, which actually we just replaced, so I'm going to hang on to that one. New snap rings, a couple of the new sealing rings go on there, and a wear sleeve that I had to break off. That was kind of a pain, but getting the new one on was a little sketchy. I didn't want to damage it, but went to a local machine shop and we used their press to put it back together. This shaft right here has one of the new rings on it. I've already installed the new one there. This is the old input shaft seal. It's pretty hard. This ran against that wear sleeve. It was definitely time, but it didn't appear to be leaking yet. And this is the new one that we installed in the previous video. This came out of a Komatsu bag. Of course, our yoke, old gasket here. We've got the new one, and these are the drives that run the pumps. The one is the hydraulic pump, and the other one is the charge pump for the transmission. There's also one of those split seals right here, the metal ones. Got that changed out already. Got all the gasket material cleaned off. I'm gonna give it a good once over with some brake cleaner before I put the two halves together. But the project went pretty well. This does come farther apart, and I decided not to do it. There's really nothing in there I need to be replacing. The kit does come with the gaskets in here to do that, but I don't need to do that. There was nothing wrong in there. So why open up a can of worms? Well, the engine's back in. It's a lot of work, a lot of extra work I wasn't planning to do, but the engine's in. I think we're almost ready for our second start, I guess you'd say. Radiator's all back in. Only got the lower radiator mounts on because the loader's in the way. Got a little bit of a coolant leak up on the top hose, but I'll mess with that if everything else is good. I'm not seeing any fuel leaks. We had a oil pressure gauge leak on the last run. Got new fittings on that. And in here, everything's all put back together. Hoses are tight, and refilled it with more viscosity all traction. Hope I don't lose much because I don't have much left in this drum. Ended up putting a new ring gear on. The original ring gear was just a little bit chewed up. It was still okay, but as much work as it is to change. The new flywheel came with this ring gear, which is in much better shape until you get around here and we're missing a quarter of a tooth on a couple of them here. That was disappointing. So the new one was actually still available through Navistar. It was, by the time I paid shipping and tax, it was $438 just for that ring gear. But at least it's on there, and that's done. And since the last time, the loader's kind of leaked down, but that'll be all right. Got the fuel system bled, air cleaner box is back in, gauges and stuff are good, electrical system's all hooked up. I think we're ready for an attempt to start. Oh, that looks so much better. Well, that's a huge relief. It ran really well. Seems to shift good. I got to do some work yet on the undercarriage, but that comes later. Hydraulics seem to work good. There's a chain holding the rippers up. I'm gonna have to get that off there now that it runs. And get the floor pan and the hood and all the accessories, exhaust stack back on it. I do have a little bit of a coolant leak, as I mentioned earlier, here from this hose. I'm going to try to get a new upper radiator hose. That one's a little rough. The lower ones are completely obsolete, but I could make one out of a couple others. A lot of work yet to do, but the biggest obstacle has been crossed. Feel pretty good about it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm glad this one turned out a lot better than the last one. Have a good one.